Everything goes. I'm in the studio by myself tonight, but we got a little different segment for you guys tonight. We reacting to Monday Night Football. So we just gonna jump right into it. Got my man's shirt over there, and I'm let him take
Yeah.
off. Mm-hmm.
So we love the Cowgirls. Every time, only reason I turn the TV on, I'm gonna keep it a bean is to see the Cowgirls get spanked.
Mm-hmm.
On the series tip, we already knew it was gonna happen. Cowboys, they don't have their starting quarterback Dak. Even when he
Mm-hmm.
was playing, they weren't really doing much. We all know they suck at run defense, and what did Joe
Yes.
Mixon do? 150 scrimmage yards, three total touchdowns on the day. Even outside the run defense, their defense as a whole is not good. I don't know how many people watch, but the first play of the game, Nico caught a screen and took that joke to the
It took
crib,
right off
but
to
it came
Cribbo.
but it came back because they had a I think that they had an eligible man down the
Yeah,
field.
eligible.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then they went six plays and still ended up scoring on the opening drive. So it was very expected, a blowout win. I'm happy for CJ. He got when his weapons back, they look like they can get rolling and take control of that division. But this was very expected. We already knew what was gonna happen in this game. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even lie. So it's not new.
So I will say it was expected, but I will say the Cowboys performed slightly better than what people expected. I think people thought they would come out how they did last week and put up six against the Eagles, but they came out with a little bit more fire this week. Cooper Rush played his best game he's played all year. I mean, that's not really saying too much, but I mean, what was that? 2 years ago when he stepped in for Dak and he looked pretty
Yeah.
decent. You mean so?
Mhm.
He came in, he played a good ball game. He was able to get his weapons involved. CeeDee Lamb got a good amount of catches and yards tonight. He was able to get Jake Ferguson the ball, but Jake Ferguson ended up going out with the concussion, but then he was still getting the other tight ends involved. So he was able to move the ball down the field. He didn't really have much help from the run game, but that's been a consistent thing all year round. So I think he did what he could with what he had. And I feel like they defense played good in stretches of the game. They didn't play good for the entirety of the game. Obviously, definitely not that first drive. That was too crazy. But they
Yeah.
definitely stepped it up throughout the game. They looked decent for majority of the game. And then I would say for the Texans side, like you said, I'm not shocked. Nico Collins came back. They got him involved early and then late in the game. That opened it up for Tank Dell, who was able to catch the ball more better than he did in the previous games when he was the focus point, even though he did have that one big game. But outside of that one big game, when he was the focus point, he was only giving them 40, 35 receiving yards. That's not cutting it as the number one, even though we know he's a legit number three. So, I
Yeah.
mean, Joe Mixon did his thing as usual. CJ did his thing. So it's really, I can't complain with what I seen out of the Texans.
Mm. I can agree too, but as I was watching, I think the second half it kind of got out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the first half, I believe it was 20-10, and then they kicked a field goal to make it 20-13. But
Mm-hmm.
then the Houston, they ended up making a dumb bonehead play. I think it was hands to the face on one of their players, and they
Mm-hmm.
called it back. And then the Cowboys decided to go for
Cowboys go
points.
down the field. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and they didn't get it, so then it became 20-10. But I think in that first half, Cooper Rush looked very comfortable and he looked good considering, the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jake Ferguson ended up going down and being out for the rest of the game with a concussion, but he looked good. He was 32 of 55 for 354 yards, touchdown and a pick with being sacked five times. But I think he did his best considering the odds that he was against. And then when they came out the second half, it kind of like I said got more out of hand. Like they had the scoop and score. Texas
Mm-hmm.
defense came up with that scoop and score, and then it kind of went downhill from there.
It was what
But
basically a double fumble on the play because they took
yeah,
one out of offensive lineman. He
I,
picked it up, thought he was going somewhere. They said, "Give me that." All right.
Bruno, it was drawn. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing I can say, as I was watching the game, I wanted to touch on a little bit was a couple different teams that kind of changed gears, the Cowboys included, how they went about their off season and preparation being a big thing for teams going into an NFL season. I think
Mm-hmm.
we have the Cowboys, they 3-7, and then I'll throw the Bengals and the Jets in there for context. All three teams, they had a bunch of noise in the off season, whether it be not paying their players, the Bengals and the Cowboys. Bengals didn't want to pay T or Jamar. They didn't pay T, so they could pay Jamar. Didn't end up paying Jamar. So you had a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of noise about that. Cowboys, they waited till the very end of the offseason. First of all, number one, they didn't sign a running back. because they would have
Crazy.
been
The
too
biggest
because they would have been
mistake.
too expensive.
And
Go ahead, I'm
hold
sorry.
on. Before you continue, I just want to nail down that running back point. Derrick Henry work out in Texas. He said he would have loved to play for the Cowboys. The Cowboys was his number one option. The Ravens was his number two option. The Cowboys ain't even call that man.
No, they bugging. And then you see they last in the league in every rushing statistic, like
Mm-hmm.
literally. And it's not even like Derrick Henry is breaking a bank in Baltimore. He's getting in the teens of millions. They could have broke that off, but they waited to the end of the offseason. Instead of paying a running back or making any moves in free agency, they
Mm-hmm.
waited to the end of the offseason to pay Dak a record-setting contract and then pay CD. And then the Jets, they're also, I believe, 3-7, and their entire offseason revolved around Aaron Rodgers, possibly running for political office, darkness retreats, scandals, conspiracy
Mm-hmm.
theories. So I'll say all that to say preparation is very important, and I think teams don't under some teams don't understand the importance of that, and that's setting the tone of your season. I'm not gonna blame that all on these three teams, struggles, but in my opinion, I think that plays a big part because you know if you're prepared, you can't get caught off guard by any situation, and you're always ready for anything and able to face adversity. And I think these teams, especially the Cowboys, they weren't ready for that because, like I said, even before this game when Dak was playing
Mm-hmm.
they weren't playing good football. They still
No.
were I believe, a sub 500 team or at 500 team when Dak went down with his injury and was out for the season. So,
So yeah, just to piggyback off of what you said, preparation that was heavy. Like when before the season even started, y'all went into the chat talking about Dak, what I think the Cowboys was going to do, and I said I'm not even going to lie to you. They not doing nothing this year. I'm just hoping that they don't pay Dak so he can get up out of there after this year. They ended up paying him. He's stuck there. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just knew from the jump it wasn't going to get nowhere. Okay, one, you wait until what a week before the season start to sign CD knowing that he was going to sit out, he was going to miss OTAs, he was going to miss training camp. So you let him miss all of that preparation time. And who was Dak thrown to because y'all did not go out and sign another wide receiver? So who was he practicing with? Okay.
Jan Tolbert.
Exactly. So boom, that's number one. The number two, y'all wait until I think it's either the day of the game or the day before the game. I swear, well, I
Bro,
was
it
about
was
to
the
say
day
it's
of
the
the
day,
game,
but
bro.
the day
It
of
was the day of the game.
the
It
day
was
of
the
the
day of the game,
game.
bro.
What 10
They
a.m.?
they played. I think they
Like,
played
come
the evening
on.
game, and they signed CD that morning when we woke up. Like,
Like, like, like that's how we conduct the business. And then the owner sat down and said that and then I remember him saying in the offseason, we sent in a chat about CD basically saying that they not missing him not being there at training camp and that OTAs is not affecting them as a team. They not missing nothing. Then
yeah, Jerry said that.
you clearly don't know football.
Yes, Jerry said that.
Yeah. And you the owner slash GM and you just need to be the owner. You need to take a back seat because you are holding this team back. You set them up for failure. You didn't make no solid moves as a GM that will put them in a situation to win. Everybody knew that this roster was not good enough going into the year. You keep trying to sell your fans that you constructing the best rosters. Granted, in past years, okay, we definitely could have said you had a top five roster put together, but this year everybody knew that was not the case. You got smoked in the playoffs last year. Players got hurt going into the season. Players sat out the off season because you didn't pay them, and you thought that you got better as a team. How?
No idea. It's, it's insanity, backwards thinking. And like you just said, Jerry playing owner and GM that has not really gone right
It's
in
not worked out for him.
any way, shape, or form. And it sucks because it actually it don't suck. I love that the Cowboys
Mm-hmm.
are down, but it's like from a fan perspective, it's no end in sight. You feel me? Like he's not
Exactly.
anytime he open his mouth, he thinks that he's right. And especially in the offseason, he said, "Oh, I want to see somebody try and
Yeah,
bring
somebody
somebody in
try to
and do a
put
better job
together a
than me."
better team than I can. Can't nobody do a better job at this job than I can. What?
Exactly. So it's just gonna be a never a non-stop cycle of Jerry Jones sabotaging the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys when he also said at the same time that he wants to see the Cowboys win. So
So I'm mad that nobody said the question that you no the statement that he said that you just brought up. I'm mad nobody sat him down and made him explain that because so you're the owner and the GM. So that means you're bringing in the players and you're bringing in the coaches and you're drafting the players. So you're doing all three phases and you're not winning championships. So how can you say you're doing the best job? Like I'm confused. What you mean nobody can do a better job than you? What? It's teams that's winning. You're not. So
you
I
know
don't
that.
understand it. But I do want to talk about the Texans a little bit because I feel like some people may find this game troubling for their defense only because the Cowboys was able to move the ball with a backup quarterback and essentially no run game. But I'll just say this, like I said, I wasn't too high on the Texans going into the year, but are they still a playoff team? Yes. Do I still think they can kind of do what they did last year, win a playoff game and then go home in the second round? Yes. But could they also get bounced in the first round? Yes. So I don't really think this game changes anything for Houston. I didn't see them as Super Bowl contenders before the year, and that's a question I do want to ask you because we didn't have you on the last show. Do you still think that they're Super Bowl contenders, being though they just lost what two of their last three?
Right. I do. I believe I still stand on what I said a couple weeks ago on the show, where I think
Mm-hmm.
possibly one of the Kansas City bigger threats could be Houston. I do think, even outside their defense, they didn't have Will Anderson today, but
Mm-hmm.
I believe their secondary is very can be very elite. Like you think of Derek Stingley and then the
Pierce.
corner opposite of him. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, I'm blanking on his name. Al Shari, something like that, however you say
Mm-hmm.
his name. But their corners are okay, and then a pass rush running there. And I think the main concern for me is they line, they O line.
Their O
Like I think
line is
that's probably
terrible,
the
man.
the biggest thing. It's really terrible. And while their O line has been terrible, CJ also hasn't had um two of his best receivers. Whether
Mm-hmm.
you think, Stephon is better than Tank Dell or not, that's up for debate. We can talk about another time. But Nico has been out since week whenever that was. I think he missed about 4 to 6 weeks, however long that was.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephon Diggs has been out for about a month too. And I think that's a driving factor why they've been losing some of these games. But I do still believe they still can be contenders. Because I'm obviously not the biggest CJ fan, but I think he's one of those quarterbacks that can, when you get in a big spot, he can kind of
You can shine. Mm-hmm.
you know, take you to that game winning or game time decision that'll get you over that, win you that game versus another quarterback that might lose you that game. So, today I'm not gonna say today was a fluke or nothing like that. The Cowboys were running the ball, moving the ball up and down the field at will, but
Mm-hmm.
you also gotta, commend the stops that they were able to make. Once they got down to the red zone, once the
Kept
Cowboys
them out
got
of the
them
end
there,
zone.
yeah, they weren't able to score. So, something can be said in that, especially considering we're slightly short-handed and being able to get to the quarterback, even though I think Cooper Rush was sacked 4 or 5 times. That
Mm-hmm.
still, still matters, but I still stand on it. They're a contender.
So I guess my last question to you would be for CJ Strauss particularly. Like I know you said he's going to shine when the moment is bright, or he have shown that he can shine when the moment is bright. But I've seen him tonight, like specifically. Okay, one that interception that was just a bad throw altogether,
Yeah,
and
that
then
was terrible.
yeah, and then outside of the interception, I seen him the throw to Tank Dell on that 3rd and 1. He and Tank Dell beat the man on a quick out, and he underthrew the ball and threw it behind Tank Dell, and he tried to like turn his body back to catch the ball. Ended up being an incompletion. Then there was another ball I seen him trying to go over the middle of Tank Dell, and it just got away from him. And we're not used to seeing that from CJ. Do you think that's a concern moving forward? Him like missing passes that are usually a given for him.
Yeah, I do. I can't even lie and say it's not growing pains because I think they showed us that in the game. It was compared to his picks last year. This year, he should be up to 9 with this game, this pick that he threw
Mm-hmm.
in this game. And last year, all through last year, he only had
Yeah,
5.
5. Yeah.
Mm, I think it's that process and growing of okay, as a rookie, we don't know what you look like, and it's only but so much time that DCs will have and teams will have to be able to adjust on a week to week basis.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in week 2, and teams have a whole year worth of film on CJ. Like I think it's a little bit of a concern that I feel like he'll be able to grow from because I do believe he's a good leader and he's shown to be coachable. So another thing that's
Mm-hmm.
important for especially quarterbacks. Not everybody is coachable, but CJ is a very coachable player. and the presence and the player that they have on that team, Stephon and Joe. They actually just said it. They interviewed CJ when they was talking about Joe being that veteran presence for him, and
Hmm.
sitting him down even after he threw his pick, sitting him down and talking to him and being able to coach him being a younger player. So I think it's just like I said, growing pains. Of course, it's something to watch, but I don't think it's anything that'll become a trend that'll just tarnish CJ and him being either a quarterback that's unable to read defenses, read receivers,
Hmm.
or be a turnover prone quarterback. I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Got you. So I know I said that was my last question, but this is actually my last question for real. Because I just peeped that you mentioned Joe. So I do want to get your opinion on this. So I do think that this season is over. So that's not the question. My question is, what do you think is going to happen moving forward, being as though Jamar is not signed, T is not signed, his offensive line is bad. He don't really have a solid running back. He have two running backs and Chase Brown and Zach Moss. He don't have a guy at running back. So what is he going to be left with on offense? He is the only one that's secured.
So I think Chase is probably the future running back. I don't know how good he can be,
Hmm.
but I do. We've all seen like games that they played. Chase Brown, his explosiveness, like
Yeah, whether he
he could
catching the
take
ball or running out the yeah.
yeah yeah both. He can take a carry 40 yards to the crib, or he can catch a
Hmm.
pass in the middle, in the flat or right there in the middle of the field and take it 30 yards. So I think Chase, especially considering he'll be on a rookie contract, he'll have to get paid because you already know how they get when it's time to pay people.
Hmm.
But I think he'll be good. Pair him with another running back, it'll be okay. This offseason, T is definitely gone 100%. Um, I really don't think it matters what the Bengals do. He's going to another team. We can talk
Hmm.
about that in the offseason where he goes. I do think they'll pay Jamar. Um, I can't say that with the strongest face though, because
Because
I
you know
forgot
how they do over
I
there.
forgot, I forgot who said it, but somebody was like the price of the brick going up because
It
Jamar
is.
plays so well, and the money that they would have gave him this past offseason is going to be a lot less than what they're going to have to give him this offseason.
Hmm.
So that's to be seen. So you'll have Jamar, you'll have Joe, and I like Chase. You'll have Chase, and I think it's about possibly drafting an O lineman or even bringing somebody in. But a major thing they have to do is fire Zach Taylor. Like he has to go. Like I think that won't solve all their problems, but I do
Hmm.
feel like if they get the right coach in there, like kind of we was talking about, Justin and how Jim Harbaugh came into the Chargers and kind of turned their whole
Hmm.
life around with lesser players actually, lesser players than they had.
Exactly.
I
Like they
think,
lost players on offense
mhm.
and,
and defense.
and got
Like
better.
they don't have none half of they have half of the names that they had on defense this year in the past couple years, and their
Hmm.
record is better than it's ever been. So I think they get the right coach in there, they pay the right guys, and we'll see next year. Like I'm a heavy Joe fan. I think, they have a better coach and a serviceable offensive line of defense. Joe can
Hmm.
make something shake. But like when you have bottom five defense and a bottom five O line,
It's runs.
it's only right. It's only but so much you can do. So
Hmm.
this season definitely packed up. Like I said on live, I'm still standing on, they lost. The season is over. Like I'm not going back on that. They four and I think they four and what 7, I believe, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. So it's runs. We'll see. We'll see Joey B next year. So
So yeah, we gonna leave it at that. We definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. We know we can't grow as a channel without you guys. Catch
facts.
the next segment.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Oh, you gonna oh, you gonna show the score? What happened? You came back?
this dead. He cooked.
I didn't even check it at all today. I didn't even peep you came back. Oh
Not
Lord.
focusing, yo.
Oh Lord.
Oh, he cooked. He got the hammer. Where Joe at? Big mix. Big mix. Mixed him up.
Oh, Joe Mixon had you come back. What he had?
Yeah, 30.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Big L. Big L, boy.
Joe Mixon with a 30 piece. It's cool though. All right, we gonna end it there. We catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir. Appreciate all the fans.